G'day guys, Chris from All Terrain here, and this is a special one about our All Terrain X mode. So we've actually got Francisco down from Queensland down at Melbourne HQ, and we've got him in here to have a chat with you guys so we can talk about some of the changes that are coming. Well guys, Francisco here, fresh down from Queensland. We've got a lot to talk about basically. So the last 3 months has just been completely crazy, and I know many people have been anxious about what's going on with the X mode, so I thought since we're kind of getting close to the point where we're finally going to be able to deliver some of the early adopter versions of the product, we probably want to share some of the challenges that we're facing, where we're kind of at with it, and what early adopters can expect to receive. So I'm going to kick this off with probably a bit of where we're at. So we're going to start, so Francisco, I'm going to start, I think, what we're going to deliver as kind of a pre-production, and then talk backwards to why, where the challenges started and why we've ended up here, and then kind of explore what the future looks like. So firstly, because we've just got so much going on, it was just kind of easier to get Francisco with our all-terrain Shark, and you've been developing, we've been talking, we've been testing. Let's talk about some of the challenges that we're facing. It's going to be a bit of a long one, guys, so if you haven't got a lot of time, probably not the video, but yeah, you're going to learn a lot about what's been going on and what to expect. So
yeah, so the first problem that I had was I tried to use the standard processes that I use for doing this kind of job, except that the Shark has got 4 buses that we need to bridge. So then I actually tried to bridge all 4 using the one processor, and then that ended up not being fast enough, the communication between all the different bridges. So eventually that kind of took a while. That's when you dropped it off, and I was just about to get it to run, and it turned out that it just didn't work very well. So I ended up going into a different architecture, which I didn't really want to use originally because it's a bit more complicated and it's a bit harder to debug, but it does have some advantages. And essentially what I've done is I put one processor per bridge, and then I've got another processor that talks to all of those bridges. So obviously it gets a little bit more complicated. But the benefit of doing that is that we can actually then put a lot of these bridges into other systems. So for example, we could actually go and put a bridge for, I'm just saying, for the brakes, right? So then we can apply the brakes, we can apply the brakes automatically in case that is not the VCU that is telling the brakes to apply. So it basically means we can add a lot of other stuff to the car that we wouldn't be able to do with the original system.
before, yeah.
But it's just more complicated, and it's taken a fair bit of time because I now have to have a processor that needs to talk to another processor, and they need to have some communications, and there's a lot more stuff that you need to do just to get to the very basic thing that we had before. So that's actually taken a lot longer than I actually was anticipating.
Well,
so
I think we've both figured out
that was the biggest delay.
Well, it was more that, so we did the proof of concept. I brought the Shark back. We got Robert Pepper having a bit of a drive of it. If you haven't seen that video, it's in the corner now. But Robert Pepper, being kind of independent, really has given some insight into some things. And some things I thought, I don't think people would like this. His input's been, no, it actually would be probably okay. It'd be good. So it's helped kind of guide us. And this is kind of the reason why we kind of want to get a few units out, just kind of like pre-production. And the reason for that is we need to take scenarios that either I or Francisco wouldn't anticipate would be a scenario itself, and make sure we're allowing for that in the programming logic. It's very hard to consider all scenarios. It's like Francisco would have been doing some testing for quite a number of months. I've jumped in, and within 24 hours I've gone, all these things here we need to fix, we need to change. It's just because we probably wouldn't have thought about that would be a scenario, or my driving style is definitely different to your driving style.
See, the other thing too is I know how it works, and sometimes maybe subconsciously I know what not to do
to stop it from happening.
Yeah,
and that's plagued developers for years. That's been a problem that we've had. So this is why we kind of want to get other people involved in just this whole portion of the project. Yeah. So we're at a stage. So basically, what had happened was we had proof of concept, and we actually found a problem. We couldn't straight away identify. We actually had a bit of an issue with the ECM, the operation that basically controls the petrol engine. Is that what's the technical? Without going into too much detail, but
basically the petrol engine generator combination.
Yeah,
that became a big. I spent so much money on fuel testing this. I just can't believe people burn so much money in fuel.
It was quite a problem actually. It was larger than I thought. I thought it was a small issue, but when we identified it was a problem, there's quite a number of, I don't know, we spent like 3 days. We had planned to do a lot of R&D for these 3 days. You remember when I was there?
Yeah.
Instead, we spent all those 3 days working on this one problem with the petrol engine. No joke. And it's just, that's an example scenario where it's something that we didn't plan. And in the end, the actual problem actually wasn't to do with any of the programming. That was actually hardware. The bus,
the problem was that it sends 3 messages, one after the other, very, very closely. You know, like one straight after the other, and then every now and then it would actually miss the last message,
which caused that event to happen.
Yeah. So after putting the multiple processes, because that other process only has to deal with one. Well, it's got a different architecture. So the chip that I'm using for the bridges has got all of the CAN controller built in. So when you read and write data to them, it's instant, whereas the other one is an external chip. And then there's a certain amount of time for the communications between the 2 chips. So once you start having enough of them, then the amount of time that you spend sending and receiving data between all the different chips means that you sometimes miss a message.
And that upset probably the receiving computer in the end. And
and it turned out that the message that was sent last was the one for controlling the generator. So what would happen is that every now and then it would miss the message for the generator, and then you would think that there is a fault, and then it would turn the petrol engine off, or it was something like that.
Triggered a failsafe probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, and that was back in February.
Yeah, something like that.
Something back in February. So to give you an idea of timeline, like we got to February and we're kind of like where we're at now. Yes. Back in February on the original hardware, and that's why some of you that might have been going, what's going on with the delivery or progress of the project? Where we are now, which is we're end of June, we're basically kind of end of January, start of February. So the positive out of all this is the hardware that is now in X mode is actually going to give us more ability to provide additional features. I know we've been talking about brake controllers, integrating a brake controller, and other things like that. And there are other avenues we're researching, but that is just an example of some of the things we can kind of steer towards in the future, if we can get the correct compliance, and that's just a whole other thing again. So at this point, guys, it's really important. There's a few things. Firstly, we're going to rename the product. It's going to be called All-Terrain EVX now, instead of All-Terrain X mode. Obviously, as we kind of knew, there was a bit of there's another product out there that uses X mode, so we don't want to create any issues there. So yeah, you'll be called as EVX basically, and we're going to change. We have to change the structure of delivery. So we want to get 2 people in Victoria, 2 or 3 people in Victoria, and we want to get 2 or 3 people in Queensland. Ideally, someone located near Launton.
Yeah, on the north side of Brisbane.
Yeah. So if you are one of those people that would be interested in cooperating in a very close nature with development, and you have already got X mode, or you are planning to buy it, reach out. We could probably discuss what we can do. But ideally, we want to get a couple installed down here, a couple installed up there, and then we can start dialing down into kind of the nitty-gritty, getting things kind of right, finding things that were unexpected or situation dependent. Like you might do things differently to what we're doing every day. We might discover things. Now, we're not talking about, how do we explain this? We're not talking about like, a difference in situation on the road. We're probably more talking about driver behavior, aren't we? Yeah. Than anything else. Like the actual product itself is kind of fine, but we need to know driver behavior. And because of compliance reasons, I think that's the best way to put it, the product in Australia is not going to have one pedal driving and any kind of regular drive mode modification. So if you do get EVX and you're in Australia, you won't be able to set any settings in normal drive modes. It will only be off-road modes that you can. For overseas international receivers, it'll all be unlocked in even drive modes. That is less some other caveats that are coming. So we just have to see how they play out, because we just need to make sure the liability side of things is kind of ticked. I've been in lots of meetings about this, and it's quite frightening what can happen if we don't get this right. So just be aware of that. And look, in the end, like right now, it mightn't be possible to do kind of like one pedal driving in a road mode, while functionality is there. And admittedly, we've done a little bit of testing, like in road modes, and we've kind of got it to a point where it's actually quite usable. It's actually really good. Personally, I prefer driving in it on the road. But I know the other side of the coin, and until we either need to sell quite a number of products so we can kind of invest into kind of getting the testing done by external parties, or we just never get there in Australia. So if you're watching and you're from UAE or South Africa, so we've got quite a few people in UAE, quite a few people in South Africa that have bought into the buying it. If you're one of those customers, you will be unrestricted. But yeah, just reach out, guys, if you have any questions about that, and we can answer that. What do you want to share that you think's relevant?
The petrol engine. I mean, I spent so much time trying to get that thing to work properly. It's just I spend more time trying to get that petrol engine to behave the way that I think it should than what I spend on doing the rest of it.
Actually, it's funny you say that. So I obviously had to drive the all-terrain Shark from Queensland down to Melbourne. You guys might have been here for that 12-hour stream. But that drive I did down, I did a little bit of manual driving to try and use your generator, or your own charging algorithm. Basically, the way it works is we can set a parameter where the generator's RPM, so the petrol engine's maximum revs, will only kind of peak to a certain amount. So it could be 2,800, it could be 3,200. I think we found a good medium was about 3,000, I think.
I think I found that 3,300 will be able to generate enough power to do everything that I did, because I don't have a very heavy trailer. I only got a motorbike trailer, and that's the only thing that I could use.
Well, I did some testing. So I found about 3,200 RPM would allow me to run at 110 k's an hour and basically stay steady on state of charge. So if I was at 65%, okay, and I drove it just kind of like 63, sometimes 64, 63, then it would go up back to 66, 60, and it would float. It would float just around that through all the hills, up and down, and that was perfect. And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. And that was pretty much the engine maximum revs up to around about 30.
So was it always running at 3,300?
Previously?
I mean, no. I mean,
no. It went down. No, it went down. So it didn't. Basically, it reached that peak or roundabout. It does fluctuate around there, but it's not perfect. But it got there, and it dropped down to 2,600 a lot of times, like even 2,100. But it never went over that 3,200 range, and it was just much more pleasant.
Yeah,
for me.
when I was doing the testing, I found that once it went over 3,000 RPM, it just felt like it was going to break, because...
Yeah, well, caveat for that is BYD do have a video, or not a video, but they have a doco or some paper about them testing these engines at some ridiculously high RPM for very many hours. We're talking like non-stop running time for a long duration. And it passed the durability, from what I remember. So there's no doubt in durability of BYD's motor, but if you ask me, I bought a car. I don't want it revving at 4,400 RPM.
It feels very uncomfortable to drive when it's revving
odd.
that much.
It feels odd. So and that's what we're trying to do with the normalization of the RPM. Now, obviously, there's going to be different situations. Like, for example, if I didn't do 100 k's an hour in my testing, okay, and I just drove 110, sorry. If I did 100 kilometers an hour in my testing, I found that 2,800 was enough.
Yeah.
And it maintained. So maximum revs to 2,800, and I could do 100 kilometers an hour up and down hills, and it would just maintain state of charge. So because of this realization, I am also thinking, I'm thinking we can add a feature. So on the Shark screen, we've got an app, an Android app we can basically sideload, and you can control how EVX works. So you can actually play around with a lot of the, I'll call it advanced settings, and you can also set really simple settings as well. We will probably end up locking out some of the stuff that we think that if you changed could, I don't know, upset the car.
Either that, or maybe it will have unexpected effects that you might. I mean, there are certain things that you really don't want to change. You don't want to mess with.
But if you're a power user, like an enthusiast, and you understand, perhaps may want to access those settings, and you could actually reach out to us and go, "Yep, I understand the risks. Maybe we get you to sign something. We unlock your VIN." So the software, when it updates for you, it'll unlock it for you, and you can actually use those settings. So we can work with that, and that's actually the reason why we're putting these in, because I think we want to be able to adjust them so we can see what the desired outcome is without having to plug in a laptop, do an update, blah, blah, blah. Just simplifying R&D, and as we're going to the future, because as we get like more of you guys on board, where you're like, oh, I'm part of the EVX development, the internal development group, and we're saying, well, if you go and change these settings and see how you go with it, you guys can. So we got a lot to explore there. I think some of the visions that I have, which we've just been speaking in the last couple of days, is we've got the over-the-air update, so we can remotely update. We will make a custom website, which we've just started, where people that have purchased into X mode and are opting into development, like development team or development group, you'll get access to different types of updated firmware. You'll be able to put feature requests in. You'll be able to open bug report cases. So you can put as much details in as you can. Me and Francisco can catch up, and we can kind of go through this and figure out if we can offer a solution. The thing that I'm thinking is sometimes something that someone thinks is a bug may not necessarily be a bug, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, look,
so
my wife has got a problem with the one-pedal driving, because what happens is, because you remember that white car? So what happens is, she says, the problem is you put it in reverse, and it doesn't mean that the car is going to go backwards, because it is a torque command, and if you give it a low enough torque command, then obviously the car, and you're on a downhill or an uphill, is not enough to actually push the car in the right direction. So what happens is that she puts it in reverse, and then she very slowly presses the accelerator, and then it gets to the point where the torque is not enough to drive the car backwards, and then it starts rolling forwards.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
But the thing is that, in a way, it is a feature, because sometimes you can actually do a 3-point turn without changing the shifter if you are going an uphill. So you can go uphill, then back off the accelerator, and the car rolls backwards, which is convenient if you know how to use it, but maybe for other people that, it just kind of feels weird.
This kind of comes into the era of, did you ever drive a manual car? Like, EVs are like basically an advanced automatic. It's the reason why I love this Shark in one pedal driving is because it feels like what I've been describing it as, a manual EV. You've got to contend to these things. If you're in an incline and you're kind of in neutral position on the pedal, you can roll back. Where automatic transmission, automatic cars, traditional cars, are designed to block that. If you're in drive, you should never really be able to go backwards. But that's just manufacturers trying to dumb the driving.
I think the thing is that with an automatic, you can never really disconnect the engine, so it's always trying to push forward. So then you kind of get that sort of hill hold feature. Whereas with the one pedal driving, because you actually got a torque command. If it's almost like using the clutch, right? Like if you push the clutch in enough, then you start rolling backwards. So the one pedal driving can have kind of the same, you can emulate the same thing. So on the car that I have, it does have a hill hold, so that if you're say on an uphill and you stop, then it won't roll back. But the thing is that there is a way to make it roll back, and it just happens that when she drives it, she very slowly presses the accelerator, and that's the actual way to actually make it roll back. So if you actually press the accelerator quickly or you let it go quickly, then it kind of engages the hill hold. But if you actually move the accelerator very slowly, that's kind of the way to turn that feature off, and she thinks that it's a bug, but in actual fact it's a feature.
That's just if you learnt that's how a car works, you would build that skill and drive it to that.
Yes.
But that's what I kind of mean. Everyone that's driving traditional cars right now have learnt to drive automatics because of the way the cars have evolved. That's just how we know them. If put it this way, if EVs, and I know it would have never worked this way, but if EVs were the first to be designed, right?
You would drive a totally different way.
You would think everything the way EVs drive without all this extra stuff would be the normal way. And by adding hill hold and all these other features and creeping, it all would have been added if there was a demand for it, if people actually wanted it for some reason. Otherwise, I don't think they would have in the evolution of driving a car.
If you think about it, like manual cars don't have hill hold.
No, exactly.
But there's no changing of pedals, just foot off, it brakes instantly.
And if in an emergency, your natural instinct will always be to go to the brake pedal. So as soon as you come off the accelerator pedal, you're already braking, and then you're applying friction brakes on top of the electric regenerative braking. So
interesting concept. It feels quite different. Feels good. I don't know how to describe it.
This is the product we sell.
Yeah, okay.
So for off-road modes. See, what's really weird is if you just go to a stop, right, and you just go to a road mode, so in the left dial, if you just go to a road mode, magically you're no longer in one pedal.
Yeah, so now we're back on.
It's just a normal car from just a simple.
And then back to off-road mode.
Yeah, but you can't do it while you're moving.
So you got to stop it.
Because think about where your pedal position is.
Yeah.
If you go to a one pedal mode from a two pedal mode, think about what might happen.
Yeah.
You accelerating suddenly becomes braking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will do it because I haven't got the software locking it out, but in our production you won't be able to. It just won't let you. It'll be checked.
Is this primarily marketed as an off-road product or an on-road product?
Off-road product.
Off-road. Okay.
Off-road product, and then we're going to do a towing product so they can use a regenerative braking for braking heavy loads down runs because they've got no engine brakes for these cars. So we want to fix that part of the market.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool. Very cool. A little bit unique.
My brother's got a WRX, and when you press the brake, if you let go of the brake, it holds the brake until you let out of the clutch or something like that. But the thing is that is a feature that they added later. It wasn't like that,
No.
Like the original cars. If you don't take the clutch out and do the revs correctly, it rolls backwards.
And this is kind of what I mean by EV manufacturers right now are just trying to make cars feel more normal.
Oh, look,
When
BYD has spent so much time and effort making the Shark drive like a petrol car, which I think is silly. They're basically spending extra effort to make a car drive like something it isn't.
So, devil's advocate on that, they do that because I think they do that because they want to sell cars, okay? And majority of the world are used to legacy cars. If they're used to getting out of a legacy car and jumping into an EV and they want to sell that car, it needs to be familiar to the person that's buying it. That's the reason. What I think that they could do to cater for both is actually make an option.
Yeah. I mean,
in the interface.
Teslas have got an option to drive it does have a creep mode. The Volvo, that Volvo that I have, that one also has a creep mode. You can set it to either creep or to not creep. And I don't understand why BYD didn't just put the option.
And that's what I mean.
I want it to drive like an EV, or I want to drive it like a petrol car.
Yeah, and I think people are going to first jump in and go, I want it to feel and drive like a normal petrol car, just because it's a brand new car and you want to drive it the way that you're comfortable. But I think as time goes on, if you got the ability to turn a particular driving style on and off, like pure EV or normal EV, you would try it and go, oh yeah, I'm not sure about that. But over time, you get used to it and then prefer it. I think in the end.
Yeah, it is.
But without that transition, you guys will never know. Put it this way. So every single person we've had drive the all-terrain Shark to try one pedal driving. Have we ever had anyone who hasn't liked it? Anyway, this is Alex's first drive with X mode, one pedal driving in the all-terrain Shark. Just giving him a feel of what it's like. He was reversing his trailer into his place in this car, and he kind of had a bit of a go, so we thought we'd give him a proper run out on the road without the trailer, so you get an idea what that actually kind of feels like. Run me through your thoughts. What's your first
impressions? I like it because I do use one pedal mostly when I'm driving.
Yeah.
I try not to use the brake pedal as much so I can get all that regen back into the car. So I'm liking it that I can keep using that, but I can come to a complete stop at a set of lights without touching the brake at all.
Yeah. Is it weird to be in a Shark that can do this?
It is.
And see, the only trouble that I've seen people have is that they take their foot off the accelerator too quick, and if you set the regen really high, then you kind of have a shock.
Skids a little bit, comes to a stop there. So, I think one pedal driving, it's an EV niche market, maybe. I don't know. Other manufacturers have said it in a spot. I know that China is trying to move away from one pedal driving. I don't know why. Did you see that doco?
Yeah, look, I think that a lot of people in China pump the accelerator pedal a lot, and that's one pedal driving doesn't really work very well if you do that.
Correct.
Slowly.
So that's gradually coming to a stop for regen. So right now, Alex is not using any brake pedal. This is all regen only. Enough power that the car's throwing stuff off the back seat.
Just off the accelerator.
Yeah. Don't actually touch the brakes.
So go around the corner and then.
Regen squirrely.
But if you set it off to a lower level, most people don't have that much problem. Once you get used to not taking your foot off completely and go for the brake, then after a while you just want more regen. I had a friend that drove one that I did. I think it was a van. And he drove it around the block, and he said this thing needs more regen. And it already had enough regen that it had more regen than a Tesla, like nearly double what a Tesla would have. And he comes back and he say, it would be good if you could give it more. Because once you get used to it, it's a lot easier to drive.
Yeah, and you just once you've got the rhythm of the necessary movements on the pedal, you get to a point where you're like, I could switch to the brake pedal right now, or I could just have more regen, and this would be really easy to drive. In fact, every single person, so we've had people that have driven one pedal driving cars before, we've had people that have never driven a one pedal driving car before, they've gotten into the Shark, and by the time, like within minutes, they're already fully understanding, they're already used to it. In fact, their behaviour from the start to the end in kind of like a 5-minute drive just blends so well. They get to the end, they're like they just know it. You don't have to tell them anything. Yeah, look, I'm not really sure, but I do think, if we can, like, I'll just give around this really quickly. I don't want to go into too much detail. So, engineering in Victoria, I spoke to someone. This was not an informal discussion. This was an informal, just to get an idea where we're at. Basically, for us to get one pedal driving kind of engineered, because we haven't messed with the brake system. So, for example, the brake pedal, the way the car brakes using regen on the brake pedal and boosted brakes on the brake pedal is unaffected by anything we've done. So if you go from one pedal off on your accelerator straight to your brakes and press your brakes, the car's going to do exactly what it should do. Nothing there has been altered, right? So because we haven't done that, they only need to test the car for that the driving mechanisms on the accelerator meet the requirements of what needs to be tested. And it's kind of up to the company that's doing the engineering to find which things they need to test to basically pass it from modification. I don't know if I jumbled that up, but in an off-the-record discussion, they were the main points. So we could certainly say, for example, get one pedal driving done in the Shark, and I could get this Shark engineered, and then future people, if they go, oh, well, I want my Shark to be engineered for one pedal driving, they could actually use the basis of the tests for that one and apply it in a much cheaper way to future vehicles. So there is a pathway. I just don't think many people are going to want to go down that route. If you do want to go down that route, I do want to know. So chuck a comment below in the video. Let us know, like in what we're doing, what are the features you would want? Even when we've said here we can't allow it for Australia, or we can't allow it, or we're not going to do it. What things do you want, or what things do you want to see? I remember a guy who's in the EVX group currently. He said, and I saw your discussion with him about a way to output information, right?
Yeah, he wanted to log. I think he wanted to have something similar to your little dash, you know, the little...
Oh yeah,
little
scan gauge, yeah. Yeah, we can, and look, we can do that. We can get all that information. So, and this is what I mean. And I do agree with what he said about if we can make that kind of like an endpoint in EVX, that it's going to allow a whole lot of other people to access that data and utilize it in their own way. So it just makes the whole EVX product probably usable for more than just what we're talking about.
Look, because of what we've done with the multiple processes, it is possible to modify it a lot. Like, you know, one of the thoughts was, could you actually add a trailer with a battery and run?
We talked about that.
Yeah, you know, like there's a guy that wanted to add another battery to have twice the battery capacity. So we could actually do things like that.
That's special case.
Yeah, but there's just so much stuff that we can do because we now have a system where we can put other modules around the car that we could use. For example, you know, there's just so much stuff. Like you could have spotlights turn on depending on your steering angle or lots of things. It's just...
Our own version of camp mode.
Yeah, kind of.
We could even, okay, so the Shark has kind of a limitation of like auxiliary buttons. So we could actually...
we can add more buttons.
We could add soft buttons with outputs if we really want, like if we really wanted to.
You know, one thing that we could add potentially is buttons for the aircon and the temperature.
Oh, physical buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Byron about if we made a product where we could plug something in and actually have a physical button, like clipped onto the bottom of the screen or something.
Yeah, something like that.
You could have physical air conditioning buttons. Would it sell? I'm curious, if we sold a product like that, and I'm guessing this is a non-educated price, but if it was $500, would you buy it? Physical, just something you clip onto the bottom of your screen, gives you physical controls. You could even make a couple of buttons that are programmable to whatever like the driver wants them to be. So that's also something else we're interested in. What else?
Oh, you know that little switch box that you've got?
Yeah, the one by Flux 3D.
Yeah, I wonder if we could add more buttons to it. But I did have a look, and I think if you want to add another row of buttons, then it gets too low, and then it blocks the mirror.
I asked him, so you could go like, so imagine it going across, and then on an angle towards a windscreen. I asked him if he could do that. That would give us 7 buttons. Because 7, you don't really need more than 7.
Oh, it depends on what you're going to do.
Oh, I need lots. I need heaps. But I mean, a normal person don't really need more than 7. I think 6 is kind of where it's at. Most cars have 4 to 6 auxiliary port. But yeah, look, we could. I think his problem is that he doesn't think many people would buy it. So it's not really worth to be a product that they make. The All-Terrain Sharks down here in Melbourne. We did find a few bugs on the way down to Melbourne in the big, long 20-hour drive. But I think we've solved those.
Yeah, I think so. We just need to drive it a bit more.
Yeah, we should do a bit more testing. I'm going to do some off-road testing. So we've got a really big off-road session coming in July with the Shark. So we've got the Denza, the Shark, and a couple of other four-wheel drives, just so you guys got a baseline against other modern four-wheel drives and see how this all performs. So that's coming. That's going to be a really big feature video. We'll also be featuring a lot of new products like all the rear bar from Savage. And we're probably going to talk about a whole bunch of new Denza products that are coming to market that we're installing here. So we're going to do a bit of that with the X Mode video, the testing of the whole everything we've been working on really in one massive trip, which will be interesting. Me and Francisco are one of the, not relevant really in this video, but one of the things we are thinking about and we were talking about is an EV rally car.
Oh yeah, that one.
So, won't go into much details yet, but a really basic thing. I'll let you explain, actually.
Yeah, well, you remember that shark that rolled over? So I got the battery, and every time I walk past it, I think that if you have a seat on top of it, a front drive unit in the front, a rear drive unit in the front, and a rear drive unit in the back, I reckon that would be a really good...
That's going to be like 800 kilos.
Something like that.
And how much power?
300 kilowatts.
300 kilowatts on an 800 kilo go.
All-wheel drive.
Yeah, all-wheel drive. That's going to be that in theory should be twice as fast, if not more.
I reckon we should actually put a full electric car on a rally. We just need to figure out if we can do it on one charge. If we can't do it on one charge, then we've got to swap batteries.
Well, I've got two blokes that are in the all-terrain community that do weekend rallying, yeah, kind of. So they would be my drivers, and we could make it a really fun project. So that's possibly coming too. So it's something we're working on. We've got all this stuff that's been going on in either Francisco's business or what I'm up to. We've got this stuff that we actually have access to do this. It's just we kind of just got to find a sponsor to sponsor the operations of doing it, because we've already got the equipment, and we just got to find, is it something you guys want to see? There's no point. I mean, we'd do it for our own interests, but
yeah, I do want to do that long range trip.
Oh yeah, and we've got to. We did talk about it. If you haven't seen that video, there's another video we're talking about. I'll put it in the corner now in case you hadn't seen it. Where apparently I'm towing. Am I towing the solar panels?
Yeah, I think so.
So I've got a trailer with what I think it was 30 solar panels.
Yeah, something.
38.
I worked out that we need about 20 kilowatts of solar to be able to generate enough electricity to run 200 kilometers every day.
30.
That's my rough guess, but I think we really do need a bit of trial to make sure that that's how much we need.
We even looked at the Guinness World Record.
Yeah,
to see if we can set a new Guinness World Record. So the idea is, again, I'll just touch on it really easy. We're carting solar panels. We'll never use petrol.
You take everything from the start, including your food, water, everything. And when you run out, that's the end.
I don't remember that part.
No, look. So the idea is, you start and you take everything that you can actually carry with you. So you're welcome to come and try it with a diesel vehicle, but you're going to have to take a crap load of fuel. So you got to take your own food, your own water. Fuel if you're going to do it on a petrol car, or solar panels to generate electricity.
But people with diesel cars can go further in the time though. They're going to beat us.
Yeah, but sooner or later they're going to run out of fuel, and when they run out of fuel, that's it. That's the end of the trip. And they got to carry fuel, they got to carry food, and they got to carry water. We only have to carry the food because we can make the water. We've
also got to lay out and pack out 40 solar panels every day.
I actually did try, and it wouldn't take that long. Because I've got some flex ones.
They've got to be some good quick connectors.
Yeah.
But look, that's something we're thinking about. Francisco doesn't really do that type of camping, I don't think.
Not that much.
But he will on this trip, because this trip will be one of those trips where...
I'm the one who's got to fix it. I'm going to be the Scotty.
Well, he's technically our crew EV engineer, so we need to make sure... Because what's also included, we're not carrying water, we're generating water. Yeah. That's the next thing. We're not. I can't believe I'm trying to say this.
If you can actually get one of those people that know how to dig out food out of the bush, they could go indefinitely. They could go for 6 months without going. Because once you can make water and you can make electricity to power your vehicle, the limit is your tires. When your tires wear out, you got to go back and buy some, isn't it?
Well, I'm currently bad at fishing. I might just be much more better at fishing by the end of that trip. Look, that's coming as well. So my challenges here is I'm trying to get the business here at All Terrain kind of self-operating so I can go away, and then we don't set a date and we just take off in this really mad expedition. And I think what we said was, because we're doing it live to kind of prove that it's really happening in real time, we were going to run something where the viewers got to choose where we're going to go to kind of the next day. Within, like, there's obviously got to be stupidity factors removed.
Yeah,
out of
like
that,
you can't go and, I mean, you got to have a path that you can traverse without doing some ridiculous off-roading. You know, like normal dirt roads, but you don't want to go and do some rock crawling to get past something.
No, ideally not. Because the challenge isn't can the Shark in electric only traverse some of the wildest terrains. The concept of this is about the distance, but in a touring format.
See, the other thing too is that it doesn't really need to be a Shark. It just needs to be. It just needs to be a vehicle. In actual fact, the only good thing about the Shark is that it's reasonably capable of road. You know, you got sufficient ground clearance and big tires, but it's not really the best vehicle from the point of view that you're going to be carrying a petrol engine that is going to be pretty useless for this trip. You know, like
it's just dead weight.
It is pretty much. So, like for example, for the Shark, we will have to have a trailer with a battery. Whereas if it was full electric, then we wouldn't have to carry that spare battery. You know, like something like a I don't know, a Kia EV9, for example. The battery would have enough capacity that we wouldn't have to carry a spare battery. So the trailer would only have to carry the panels. Whereas on the Shark, we basically need to somehow carry another battery that we're going to somehow link to the Shark, because the petrol engine isn't really going to do us any good.
Well, that the R&D Shark, we'll probably get a permit for that.
Yeah.
If we
just got to take off
because we want to convert our at the end of, well, not the end, but once we finish our research and developing on EVX, we actually probably got to do something with the R&D Shark in the end, and it might just be we might turn into like the first full electric Shark. Yeah, well, it may not be first by then.
It needs a fair bit of work on the front. You know, like the whole front is missing, unless you're going to make it really short.
I know a good guy, a really good guy.
Well, you know, if we take the petrol, if we take the front bit and we stick another rear drive unit, that'll make a lot. It'll make so much more space. Like that engine is so huge.
Yeah, I know.
Like it uses up so much space.
I was going to bring it back to Melbourne.
Yeah.
It's gigantic. It's like that big. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
Like that big. The engine. It's like 1.1 by 1.8 or something. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, no, cool. So just to recap, yeah, the people that have got their hands on EVX currently, not got your hand on, but sorry, a pre-purchase in the EVX. When do you think?
I've got 2 boards coming. Probably will arrive next week.
Yeah.
That's my pre-production test to make sure that the people doing the assembly know what they're doing and that I haven't made any mistakes. And once I've got that right, I can probably order the rest. The only thing is that I haven't done the board for the buttons. I need to do that.
That's low priority, because the thing is with the buttons, this could all be software.
Yeah, we could set all that.
Because we got it all on the Shark screen and the toggling.
Yeah, we could
what we need to do is we need to figure out what settings are safe to change. We need to probably somehow make a way to settings that can be changed kind of moving, and settings that can never be changed when not moving.
Look, I think we can change. I just need to do a bit more testing.
Yeah, no, I know that, but like, for example, the generator, so you remember how I was saying, we want to give end users the ability to say high regeneration, medium regeneration, but in RPM, so they can choose. I think like features like that to be able to change that on the fly. If we're on the highway, it's a scenario, okay? We're driving on the freeway, I'm towing, I'm going, I want to minimize RPM, so I'm just going to go 2800 RPM, but I'm watching my state of charge drop. I don't want to stop to change that. I just want to go, I want to go 3200 now. And then see if it starts increasing. And maybe if it doesn't, I can go, okay, I want 3600 now. But then once it gets to like, say 70%, I just want to go, I'm going to go back to 2800 and just, because it's not that it's going to sink, it's just going to, battery state of charge is going to drop 1% every 10 minutes or every 5 minutes. And that might sound like a lot, but if you were dropping 1% every 5 minutes, then like think about that. You're only dropping 12% every hour. How long are you driving for? May not be necessary. So that type of control is what we need.
I actually thought that in some cases you might actually want to run the petrol engine at a lower speed, which might not be enough to maintain the state of charge, but it might be enough that you might be able to do 300 or 400 kilometers, and then the battery is going to be down to 25%. But the benefit is that you would have been able to run the engine a lot lower.
Yeah,
so
less work. Less work on the engine, a nicer drive. Even for your passengers, like, I seen on social media, the partner of someone else who was driving the Shark, they were just saying it is so obnoxious. The revving of the engine is just, it's so fine. The car's been tested to run like that, but
it doesn't feel comfortable.
No, it doesn't. So, and these are the things we're thinking of, because what you said there is exactly right. If I'm like, I've got to do 400 kilometers, I just want to see the state of charge drop off with the petrol to get to nearly the bottom. So
so just to make it more comfortable.
Absolutely. So they're the things that we're working on. I don't know, did we get an answer? So we got the boards, we got 2 boards coming. So
so
sorry, go on.
I've got 2 boards coming sometime next week, and then I'm going to, put the software, put them into the test jar, make sure that everything works. And then if that's okay, then I'll get the people in China to finish the rest.
Okay.
The only other thing that I've got to do is I've got to make a program to cut the holes for the plugs onto the boxes. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get the Chinese to do that.
Okay.
But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it at sales for the start. And
Okay, so just thinking of time frame though, what are we? So I'm saying, sorry guys, I'm saying 2 people in Victoria, 2 people in Queensland. So we need 4 units. When do you think these 4 people?
Look, we might be able to do it in another maybe 4 weeks or less.
Okay, so we say 4 to 6 weeks.
Once I've got 2 boards, I was going to send you one of those, so that we can replace this one, because this one's got a few mods on the board. So rather not keep using it for too much. So we'll have 2 almost probably by the end of next week. And I need to make a sample wire harness to get people in China to make them. Once we've got that, I think it'll be a lot quicker to get them made. Like once we've got a production, then it'll be.
All right.
So the thing is, I'm going to have to send a sample wire harness for them to make them. But the next batch is probably going to be the whole production.
Sure. So, and we're going to spend time. So those 4 people, we're going to actually test our feedback network. So the way you can log bugs, the way you can feature request, the way you can update. So we're going to test with these 4 people. So because we don't want everyone to get it and then be bombarded with this is not working, this is the problem, because this is the team.
Yes.
This is the team, guys, plus one AI agent that helps us with admin just so we can keep track of stuff. This is it. And we just want to get the constraints of what we're doing, structure it, test it, deploy in 4-person group, then deploy for everyone else. And it's got nothing to do really with the product being ready or not. It's more about the growth of being able to support the product once you guys have got it in your hands and you're using it. And many of you are going to be installing it yourself, so we're going to need to do an install video.
Yes.
So,
I think modifying the pedal is probably going to be the hardest. Oh, and you're going to run the cable to the top, to that console.
No, we don't.
Oh, you don't.
We're not doing that.
Oh, you don't want to use the console anymore?
Well.
I mean, we can put buttons on the screen. Like that'll be quick.
Well, actually, let's put it to you guys. Do you want us to spend any time? Oh, it's not really time. It's not really time. It's more just an admin. But do you physically want buttons on the top for some operations? Because we could actually program though. Because if we do the CAN bus, right, for the buttons, we got 4 buttons, right? They could choose what those 4 buttons do.
Yeah.
So in the software on the Shark screen, you could go in and go, I want button 1 to do this, button 2 to do this, related to X mode. So we probably will do that. I think that makes sense. People are going to want that.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say is that before we have the buttons, we could actually put the functions that are on the buttons on the screen.
Oh, so they're just a physical virtualized
Yeah,
button.
remember how you have the button to disable the front and the rear drive unit?
Yeah.
So we could actually put a button on the screen, say disable front drive unit,
Yeah.
instead of having to have a button.
Oh, yeah. So if you
So
knew, you
that might actually be a better idea, because see, that's a button that you're almost never going to use, right?
Of
It's
course.
only if you break down. So it might not be worthwhile to actually physically have a physical button.
Yeah, we might
know-
just have a fail-safe mode, like
Yeah.
we could make a recovery tab, all our functions that can disable drive units. So if you got a broken CV, because if you don't already know, if you do a CV in the Shark, you ain't driving nowhere. Even though hardware-wise, you should be able to, the software in the standard BYD setup does not allow you, because once it detects some form of wheel speed mismatch with the output and the wheel speed sensor, it powertrain faults. So we actually did a video to show this. It's in the corner now if you want to look at it. If I can put this many videos as shortcuts, where I had a feeling we we're going to break CV, and we did.
You got a fix for
And
that
we
too,
drove.
isn't it?
Oh, and yeah, we're right in the middle of testing of a fix for the CV issue, so we can do a safe 2-inch lift with fixing the length of the CV. The proper fix will come in due course, but a patch fix is currently in my Shark, which if it solves the problem, shouldn't be any more issues with CVs, because the issue with them is more to do with length than it is strength. They're not blowing up or breaking; they're just ejecting. Kind of similar to what the Toyota Fortuner does. So Toyota Fortuner has the same problem.
Really?
Just spits them out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had one. It happened to me already twice.
Oh.
So I'm very familiar with. That's why I'm saying, believe it or not, if we actually pull all the parts, if we could find all the ball bearing, everything,
You can put it back together.
we could put it back together on the track, and you could just drive off.
Yeah,
That's-
might not last very long because
No,
you might have
no
a bit of
boot.
sand. But
Yeah, sand. But if you were just trying to get out the bush, it would work. But we actually did a test. The video I just linked you actually was a test of us driving back to camp and fixing a CV. But we have actually done a road test where we killed a CV when I was with the Denza. The Denza towed the Shark up a 28-degree climb out of the four-wheel drive high country. So the Denza did it in low range with twin-locked. Not twin-locked, it was too hard. It was just spinning wheels. It was amazing. We got out, and then we had a spare CV, but we chose not to change it. Do you know what we did instead?
oh, so you put it on. You
We-
blocked out the front.
Well, we took out the CV because you got a broken CV spinning at the front. We had to take it out. So we just we angle grinded it.
Yeah, that's the bit that you had.
That's
yeah.
the bit that I had. And we drove it all the way from Victoria High Country, all the way down the highway, all the way back to this workshop here in rear-wheel drive only. 110 k's an hour, cruising speeds, everything worked normally. So can the rear motor manage it? It seems to. He did it. Normal roads.
Well, I mean,
It's just very slow.
See that motor, I think, is rated at 150 kilowatts, so it will do 70 kilowatt continuous. So you only take about 30 kilowatts.
And a flat road.
Yeah.
It couldn't drive up hills though. So like if you got to just like a reasonable hill. When I say a reasonable hill, like not a driveway hill, I more mean like a reasonable hill. Like when you drive up it, you start looking kind of more at the sky than you are the ground. That type of hill, it won't. It just goes up a little bit and stops. So the rear motor doesn't have the capacity to drive the Shark up hills, but it can drive them on the roads.
The trouble is the gearing is wrong. I reckon
Yeah.
that motor is out of another car, and they just took out the drive unit and stuck it on the Shark.
Yeah, you
I
said
don't
that.
think they have actually made the gearing is definitely wrong.
Yeah.
If they put the right gearing, it would work a lot better.
We've probably missed a few things, but feel free to chuck any questions down below in the comments. People will be getting links soon to the new portal page. Should have up later next week. And then right now we're going to go to doing some testing. So what we're going to move on to now is going to jump into the all-terrain Shark. So just trying. So no, there's nothing on my. Oh.
Yeah, that's it's
Spicy. Powertrain fault.
Sorry?
I got a powertrain fault.
Oh. It doesn't drive? Or it's
I
just
think
coming
the
up?
park brake's on. And it's not. Yeah, I'm stuck currently.
Oh, sorry.